Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to have a look at something that I found at a dollar store. Now, I've done a lot of videos for this dollar store finds simply because I enjoy walking into like stores and finding something I want to paint. To practice painting sometimes it's kind of cool to get something that's kind of cheap. So you can practice different things. And so if it goes wrong, it's negligible. And dollar stores are a great place to go because you never know what you can find. It's a bit of a treasure hunt. Not treasure hunting is a nice find actually. That's more correct. So I've done some videos where I did a whole bunch of dragons. Now there was an update on those dragons, which I'll do another video on. I did another series, and so far it's been dragons. It's been like and winged monsters, wyverns, and stuff like that. No, I haven't been to the dollar store in quite a while, so it was interesting that about a week or so back, I was traveling to another part of Malaysia and I stopped off in this place called Ipoh. And what I did was I got myself yeah, it was so early in the morning, but the dollar store was just opening, so I thought, let's go have a look inside. So I went in and I looked at the shelves. Now, part of me was expecting not to find anything because I thought, the whole dragon monster thing was over. Perhaps they're not doing that anymore. The other part of me was kind of hoping I'd find more dragons, right? So in many ways, what I found was kind of strange because it was neither. What I found was these this it's called the monster series. They call it the monster series, which is kind of interesting because there was only one. There was I have no idea why it's the monster series when there's only one. Okay, granted, I have not been to a dollar store now in months, so I guess this is the last of the series. But regardless, I picked it up and I'm gonna paint it. Now, what it is, it's a werewolf. If you can see over here, I'm gonna rip this open and you can have a look at it, proper. But what it is it's a werewolf. Now what I'm gonna do with this? Oh, it's also released by this company, Joyit, that did all the others. They seem to be, big on the knockoff scene. But yeah, I want to try something with this figure. And what I'm gonna do with this figure is I'm gonna try using this paint over here. Now this is the Vallejo Xpress Color that they just came out. I don't know, not recently, but about a year back. And this is called Templar White. Now I'm looking at the bottle, and it looks like it's gray. I've tried painting this paint on small surfaces, and I didn't understand it. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to use this werewolf, and I'm going to try and see try to understand what they're trying to do with Templar White. Now, if you're curious, stay till the end of the video because the idea is I want to feature this werewolf, and I want to feature this color. So you can more or less guess where I'm going with this. It's probably going to be a grayish looking werewolf. Um, Now I like painting werewolves. I've painted a few. In fact, if you're an earlier subscriber or follow the channel, you would have known I painted I featured the Vargar miniature from Rackham, which was a nice figure to paint. That was done gray. But I want to see what this paint is. And if you're curious and you're wanting to get a paint, uh, and a kind of white, a different kind of white, because there's so many whites out there. There's the usual matte whites, and then there's the primer whites, and then I think Pro Acryl has got the titanium white. Um, so let's see what this white does. All right, let's get to this. All right, so let's have a look at the packaging. It's really good packaging actually for a knockoff figure. I think the quality is really quite good. So I'm gonna give them yeah, it's nice clamshell. Let's break this open. All right, so let's have a look at this. It doesn't look too bad. I've seen, of course, we've seen much nicer looking werewolves. I mean, if you were to play the Confrontation series, lots of nice werewolves there. This is your, I guess, your typical werewolf. Yeah, there seems to be, I mean, in my little zeitgeist, there seems to be like, a lot of werewolves. I mean, War Games Atlantic just released its werewolf set as well, which I might get. So let's have a look. It's really badly painted. I mean, I doubt if there's gonna be a huge difference, in looks when I finish painting this. But yeah, yeah. This red claws and red nails. When you're younger, you do this because you want it to look mean, but nothing makes it look less mean than when you have like red nails on. Now, am I gonna clean this figure? Not really. Not really. Maybe not really. But material is pretty good. It's pretty strong, good, sturdy material. Yeah, it's got a nice little mane. I mean, not much to be said. I mean, it's a werewolf. And now the trick is to see how the paint goes on it, and we're gonna do that in a bit. But what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna give it a a uh, matte black spray, and then I'm gonna give it a zenithal white, and then I'm gonna work my way through that. So that is pretty much the plan. Right. So let's have a look at this. It's a awkward looking pose, I guess. But it's very nice. Actually, you know what? In terms of sculpt, I understand that this is a knockoff and this probably come from another miniature altogether. And if you knew what it is, do let me know. I'll be curious to find out. But having said that, it's a very nice sculpt. It's very dynamic. Uh, it's an interesting find in a dollar store. I mean, they went for, I think the color that they went for doing this is like a slightly dark-ish blue or blue gray, and then they dry brushed it with a bit of white. And like I said, let's talk about the nails. Yeah, we talked about that already. But it's a nice pose. I probably have to dig through the my box of uh, 3D sculpted bases to see what would work with this. But I don't think there'll be too much happening with the base. Like I said, the overall thing here is to find out how Vallejo Express's Templar White goes on the figure. But yeah, overall, nice sculpt. I'm looking forward to this. I don't think I'll spend that much time on it. I'll probably give this a couple of hours. So yeah, you're actually more or less following me getting this done in more or less real time. So yeah, so let's get to it. Right, so there we have it. Matte black and some zenithal. Might have overdone the white a little bit, but we know where the where the light's coming from, I guess. Yeah. So I mean, the final look would have been the ratio of how much of white was going to go on and how much spray of black that would be hidden. As you can see over here, probably with Templar White going on, this will probably be more of an albino looking werewolf. Um, but yeah, it looks all right. I mean, the thing about miniatures is, I mean, if you find a miniature that's badly painted, or a miniature that has that you want to repaint, right? After you've cleaned the figure with a a sonic cleaner, or with whatever appliance you use to clean your figures, right? Or in my case, if you were to like give it a black spray, right? The figure suddenly takes on a new life, and then it's a clean slate for you to do whatever you want with it. I mean, at this point, I've more or less forgotten what the initial figure color looks like. Well, I do know, but it's a great way to start. And from now until the end of the figure, all that is required is for me to just put my own spin on this werewolf. So let's see how it goes, or let's see what I mean. I'm curious as well to see how everything will turn out in the end. It's a extremely simple couple of hour paint job. I mean, if you're a aspiring Dungeons and Dragons miniature collector, and you want something that you can paint in a couple of hours, this is probably something that you can look at to do. I mean, it's simple. matte black zenithal spray, and then Templar White. Let's see what Templar White does. I'm as curious as you are. All right, so let's have a look at what one layer of I mean, it's still wet, the paint's still wet, but this is what one layer of Express Paint Templar White. It's a very gray looking paint. Ooh, there's some gaps over there. I should have cleaned the gaps, I guess. Um, Never mind. It's a figure that we wanna try things out. Um, huh. Where do we go from here? I think building up the main perhaps would be a good idea. Maybe a bit of a washdown, maybe. But as you can see, this actually for me. I'm looking at this first time under good light with you, um, and we're having an we're experiencing this together. As I wonder what on earth uh, Express Templar White is. I think it's more like gray. Why didn't you just call it gray? Like a gray something something, because it feels more gray than it does white. I understand that this could be the it'd be easier to highlight this with the white, but yeah, but overall, I mean, of course, it's nothing else but just splashed on speed paint, or in this case, express paint. So it's far from done. In fact, this is just step one. But of the plan was to find out what the color is and what the color does. The video makes the whole figure looks a bit brighter, but looking at it through without the benefit of a lens, the figure looks a little bit darker, actually, to be honest. I'm hoping that after everything dries, we'll actually really see what what the people at Vallejo are trying to do. But yeah. But the next time we see these figures, we'll probably have a whole lot of other bits of paint in it. I'm not gonna do another little, showcase of it, um, in a state of dry, because that'll be kind of boring, I think. So yeah, so that's what Vallejo Express White is. I've looked at a lot of like demos online when a new paint ranges comes out, and they put it onto like you know things, shapes or figures, for you to have an idea of what it looks like. But I didn't understand. So hopefully this experiment that I've done right here gives you an idea of what um, Templar White is. Perhaps something that you can do with this. Perhaps you know yeah, it gives you a color direction perhaps on where you want to go with the figure. But so yeah, whatever the case is, this is it. This is Vallejo Express Templar White. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a few hours. This figure should take a few hours. Actually, you know what? Maybe a bit longer than that. I'm gonna wait for the paint to dry, and then maybe remove some of the some bits which are collecting. I'll probably go in there with a brush and like clean up the way everything collects. So everything's kind of smooth. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Uh, let's go to the next stage. Right, so I let everything dry a little bit just to give a quick look at what it looks like. Yeah, it's pretty much gray. It's it's a gray, but yeah, I think it does make the fur thing happen quite nicely. Let me see if I can show you guys a much closer view of this in a bit. But from a distance, um yeah, it doesn't look very gray. It looks gray. It doesn't look very white. So I guess Templar White would be your primer to paint some gray. I think should be a good paint to use if you're painting uh I guess spaceships. I guess it's similar to army painters now defunct spacecraft interior. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So now we know what it looks like. Great. Yep. So very quickly, as you can see, detail comes out quite nicely. Bad. Yeah, I suppose I can understand what they're doing with this. Um, it does smooth out the color nicely across the whole model. Um, Gradient looks all right, but yeah, even the main looks good. Yeah, so yeah, it should look much better once I've given it more of a highlight. Um, yeah, but yeah, not too bad, not too bad at all. All right, so here it is. I spent about, I want to say 4 hours maybe, a little bit more than 4 hours getting this done, and I'm very impressed with how it turned out. To be honest, the Vallejo Express color that I use, the Templar White came out quite nicely, and I see how this thing works. So I think it's kind of great to have experiments like this to see what a certain color is, because honestly I did not understand what the color was until I started using it. It's got a nice gray tinge to it, and if you were to put it onto a figure, it's, I would say, a nice base color for you to start painting white. Um, but as you can see here, it went over the shade, the zenithal of black and white quite nicely, and I think it came out quite nice. The palms and the snout, I did a little bit of skin tone. I think I use opal skin tone, if not mistaken, for this, and this is from the eye painter skin paint set. But overall, the colors came out quite nicely. The pose, the figure itself helped a lot. I had to use a hair dryer and repose the figure slightly to get this dynamic look. But yeah, I like how it turned out. I'll probably be using the Vallejo Express White Templar for maybe more ships maybe, or if I'm trying to go for a nice slightly bluish looking gray. Um, Granted, I did give the figure a nice, like a slight wash of quick tone, quick shade. But I didn't overpower the figure. The idea was to understand what the figure, what the color was, and I think I achieved it. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you're wondering what Vallejo Express White Templar is, this is it. And overall, nice looking figure. Enjoyed painting it. Right, so I hope you enjoyed that. You get what you get. Stick around. I enjoy painting. Painting is a hobby, but it's also something I do for fun. And I'm glad I'm able to bring you in, and you can actually experience what I do. Just to pass the time. If you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, yeah, and don't forget to enjoy painting this video.